Hey everybody, welcome to the second video in learning HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, or how to make websites with them. This is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com. So where we last left off, we kind of set up our environment. We set up our index.html, our index.js, and our index.css. We got our Chrome browser with our Chrome dev tools, again, which you can get to by hitting Control-Shift-I. Okay, so let me just drop that down a little bit. Okay, and then actually let's do this. Now this is a cool thing about the dev tool. See this button right here? If I want to kind of see how it would look like on a mobile phone or something like that, I can use this to kind of change the size of the screen without having to resize my browser window. How do I get that? By pushing this button right here. Very useful. Okay, but right now all we have on the page is this text, and again, everything that shows up on your page is within the body tag. Now, everything in HTML, every tag is going to be either a block element or an inline element. Now, what does that mean? Okay, so the two sort of prototypical elements that are just kind of like, they don't have a name that means that you have to use them in any particular way, but like every time you use the tag div, that's a block element. So watch what happens. If I say Alex Merced, and then I close the div, and then I do that a few times, Control C. Okay, so we have three divs. They should be all on top of each other. Okay, so let me save that. Let's refresh. And there we go. We have three Alex Merced on the top of it. Because what it does is that when you wrap it in a div, it creates a new block that runs fully across the page horizontally. So you can see that if I go to the elements over here, let me bring this back up a little bit. Okay. Basically, everything in HTML is this sort of block model. Okay, so basically the length of a block is the margin, the space outside the border of the box, and the padding, which is the space within the box. Okay, so if you think of like a padded cell, the padding's on the inside, and then the margin is sort of the space on the outside. But if I go over here, I can see the HTML that's on the page. Okay, so we get right behind this. See here, move this over a little bit. What is the thing I'm looking for? Yeah, there we go. So when you see this right here, what you're looking at is a different tag. So if we go here, see the body is this. So notice that even though there's all this white space, it's actually not part of the website because the website keeps going down until there's no more content. So technically the website is literally just this horizontal blue box, the body tag. And in the body tag, there are three divs, so which make up three blocks. So that's what we mean by a block element. Okay. Now divs are not the only block element, but it's a element that you can literally just throw anywhere when you need a block. Okay, cool. Now let's go back to Sublime. So let me just make it small again. Let's go back over here and change these to span. Span is an inline element, meaning it does not create a new block. It's going to be inline as if it was just text next to text. So after doing this, what will happen is you'll just see Alex Merced three times right next to each other. Okay, so Control Save, refresh, and now they're all in the same line because they're all still in the same block, which in this case the body block, because there's no other blocks inside the block. Okay, so that's what they sometimes mean when they talk about the box model. Okay, you have to imagine that there's basically a bunch of basically there's one big box, the body tag, and then all your websites inside that box, which could have other boxes and other boxes inside those boxes. Cool. Now, in the most recent version of HTML called HTML5, what they did is they introduced a whole bunch of new called semantic tags. These are generally all block elements, so they create a new block. You could pretty much do the same thing by creating a div, except they have names that kind of help you represent what part of the website you're making. It's a very good habit to use them because at the end of the day, especially if you're working on a team making a website, other people have to look at your code. So the more your code speaks for itself with what your intention is and what you're trying to do, the better. So for example, and the way this would work is that generally a website has three parts. There's the header. So this would create a so this tag would create a block that's supposed to it's just a block. But now when I see the tag header, I know this probably means the top of my website. Then there's the main part of your website. So there's a main tag. And then there's the bottom of your website known as the footer. So start this way, footer. Okay. And then, so this way, and then I can just sit there and do whatever I need to do within those three tags. And it makes it much easier for someone to kind of be like, oh, okay, I see this. All the code for the top of the website's here, the main part's there, whatnot. There are other semantic tags. So for example, in the header, we might create a navigation. So in that case, I might use the nav tag. So just again, another block. But again, just makes the code clearer. In main, let's say it's a blog, you might have an individual blog article. So there's an article tag. You might have a side menu. Okay, let me do it this way. Article, so that we have the closing tag. And then you also may have like a side menu. Okay, so for like a little sidebar, they have a tag called aside. Now, does this actually create a sidebar? No. You have to style it, okay, and that's what we're going to be doing in the CSS. But you can use these tags to help label the different parts of your website to make it clear as to what they are. So I'm going to take away these two tags. I'm not going to really be using them, okay? What we will do in this video is we're going to create our navigation, okay, now that we have these tags, okay? Now, what I want to do is I want to have a bunch of links. So here we're just going to have a bunch of, we're going to pretend they're links. So the way a link works, so if I want, you have to create what's called an anchor tag, which is A. Okay, and then A has an, so when you have a property like this, so basically here's the name of the tag, A. href is a property of the tag, which stands for hyperlink reference. So I'm saying, what website am I sending it to? Okay, and then we would put a website here like alexmercedcoder.com. And anything in between this tag will be a link to that website. So we'll say, but here we'll just give it names that you would normally see on a menu. Okay, so I'll copy and paste a bunch of these. Okay, home, about, products, help, contact. So these are just normal things you'd see in our normal menu. Okay, so if I hit save, let's refresh the website. Okay, and then we see here, we see home, about, products, help. That's not the most attractive thing in the world, right? Like, it could look better. Okay, we may not like this whole how the links turn blue and has that little underline. We may want to change all that. So let's change all that. Okay, so let's go back to our tools over here. Okay, so just a reminder, the whole block thing. Okay, so let's go to our body tag here. So again, we have the header. There's the header block. And inside the header block, there's the nav block, which they're pretty much the exact same size because we never said one's inside the other one. And it pretty much fills up its parent block unless you tell it otherwise. Okay, so that is that at the moment. So what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to make this nav block, okay, because the nav block has all the A's in it. I'm going to sit there and make this nav block look a little bit prettier, so that way these look better. Okay, so let's style that. So let's make this small again. We're going to go to my index.css. So literally, I'm not changing anything in my HTML. Okay, I'm going to take the nav tag. So I just type in nav. That means I want to change the nav tag. Okay, and we're going to say, we want the font to be a little bit bigger. So we'll say font size. And then again, whenever you name a property in CSS, there's always a colon after the name of the property, then you put the value of the property. Okay, In general practice, well, you could say the size of the font in pixels, which used to be the convention. The convention nowadays is to do it in EMs. Okay, and EMs are more sort of relative size relative to the container that is in. So you're not, so what the exact right size is trial and error. But it's not going to be like pixels where you might be making it 64 pixels or 12 pixels, kind of like a font in Word or something. These are usually going to be like 1, 2, or 3. So let's first start off with 2 EMs. Okay, that's going to be our font size. So I'll save it. After each one, we'll just make sure that's stuck. So I refresh, and look, it's bigger. Cool. Okay, now I want a better background color. So let's make it background color. And let's make the background black. Okay, problem is then the font will be hard to see. So let's make the color of the font in that div white, which won't show up right away because these are links. So it's going to default to that default link color of blue. We'll show you how to fix that in a second. But let's save. Okay, so we're looking a little bit better. But I want to be a little fancy. I want to see how it's like a black square. I'd like it to maybe give it more rounded corners. So I want to round that border. Okay, so I'll use border radius. So let me just go to the next line. Border radius. And then here you just do pixels. So we'll just say 15 pixels. That's just going to be the border radius. The higher the number, the more rounded. If you do it enough, it actually becomes a circle. So save. And see, now I have more rounded corners. But the text looks a little tight in the box. Okay, that box is a little too narrow, and the text is kind of touching the top and the bottom. I'd like to give it a little bit more room, so I want to give it some padding inside the cell. Okay, so we'll give it padding, but I don't need to change the padding on the sides because it's centered. So I'll leave 0 pixels. Well, actually, let's see, remember that's right. It's actually the first number will be the top and the bottom. So there I do want some more padding. So we'll start off with 10 pixels and we'll see how it goes. And then if I wanted to, I could hit space, and if I name another number, it's going to be the right and the left, which I'll just put as 0. Okay, or you could just put 10 pixels, but then it would do 10 pixels on all sides. Or I could put 4 numbers, and it'd be top, right, left, and bottom. I mean, top, right, bottom, left. Okay, but let's see. Let's save that and see how that looks. Oh, nag screen. You can see that gives it a little bit more girth, makes it look a little bit prettier. Okay, cool. So that's the div box. But inside that div box, I have a bunch of links, and I'd like those to look prettier. So, but I don't want every link on the website to look different, just the ones in the nav. So what I'm going to do nav A. When you do that, it means any A tags inside the nav tag, so any A's in nav, apply this style to. Okay, so in that case, what do I want? I want to get rid of that blue link color, so I'm going to change that to white. Okay, I want to get rid of that underline, so I'm going to change text decoration to none. So that way that underline goes away. So let's save that and see how that looks. Nice. Okay, so it looks a little bit better, but the words are still a little close to each other. So maybe I'd like a little space between them. So since I want the space to be sort of away from each other, what I'll do is I'll do a margin. Okay, that's sort of the space outside of the element. But I don't want space up and above. The space top to bottom has already been pretty good with the padding that we did in the nav. So I'm going to say 0 because I don't want to change top and the bottom, but I would like them to be, let's say, 5 pixels away from each other. Okay, so if I do that, let's see how that turns out. I might need to make less because there isn't that much space left over to begin with. And that's a little bit better. I can probably go maybe 2 more pixels, 7. Okay, a lot of this is just trial and error and just trying to get it to look exactly the way you want it. Nice. That will work. Okay, so we've created sort of our navigation. Now, right now, yeah, the cursor turns into a pointer when you hover over it, and that helps people know that it's a link. But I would like it to give it a little bit more flair so people know it's a link. So what I'm going to do I create another style called nav A, so it applies to those navs, those A links in the nav. But I'm going to add colon hover. That means apply this style when you hover over this item. And you can do it over anything. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch the colors. So the background will become of the A tag. So it's only going to do it on that individual link. It's going to become white. And the color, which is the font color, will become black. And you'll notice the syntax here. After each property, I got to put a semicolon. Okay, save. Best way to learn is by seeing what I'm doing. Okay, and so now I save that, I refresh. Now if I go over it, now that makes it look a little bit more interactive. Nice. Okay, so there we've created our navigation. So that's a good start for today. I'll see you guys in the next video as we continue to build out this website. You can play with what the menu is, and if it actually links to anything, you can change the colors. Just do a search for CSS colors and see what you can come up with. I'll see you guys later. This is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com.